hiring process and the difficulties they face. But let's move on now, shall we, to the Financial Services Authority, the head giving evidence today. It's making many of the papers, not least the Financial Times, which focuses on the changes that have been promised.
Yeah, front page of the FT, FSA head promises regulation revolution. This, of course, is Lord Turner giving evidence to today's Treasury Select Committee. And the language that he used in terms of the way forward for the FSA is quite extraordinary. It's unprecedented. It's a real, I think, a gear shift forward. He talks about this, the animal spirits of bankers which need to be quelled, the revolution in financial regulation that, of course, needs to happen. Now, what we've seen over the last 5-6 years is this sort of unprecedented, sort of almost profligate banking sector, apparently from the outside not being regulated by the FSA. And when you're dealing with such complex leverage risk, I really feel you need a very complex regulatory system to deal with it. And it appears that over the last few years, under Gordon Brown's guidance and leadership, we've really had an FSA that hasn't addressed this. It's been very light touch. And of course, the big opportunity here, because Lord Turner was giving evidence a month ahead of the FSA's report into the future regulation of the financial services sector. And in that, he's likely to come down very hard on the bankers. He's likely to say that for very senior banking appointments, we need to have an interview board at the FSA who will essentially have veto over those senior appointments. Extraordinary intervention from the FSA, but I think the public will welcome it.
So it's interesting tonight, actually, Barack Obama and his Treasury Secretary have been talking about the need for stress tests for banks to prove how much capital they've got, to see if they're bank worthy, if you like. So in a sense, a similar principle about more regulation needed.
There's a Dutch edition of regulation at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the only criticism of the Chancellor at the time, which is Gordon Brown, who set up the regulation system.
Well, certainly, with hindsight, I think he would be thinking differently now. But clearly, Lord Turner is blame is probably the wrong word, but he's actually criticising politicians, economists and regulators. But interestingly, asked whether he would have made the same mistake had he joined the regulator earlier than September last year. He said, "I fear I would have." So clearly
the opportunity of Gordon Brown is that he's probably going to call an election in a year and a half's time. We're all as confident as we can be. He's going to wait. He has to. He will almost certainly wait until the very last day he can call one. Now, what he wants to do in the meantime is make sure he does, and he's seen to be doing absolutely everything he can to deal with the issues at hand when it comes to regulation of the financial services sector. Now, this report will come out in about a month and a half. No doubt Brown will endorse it, maybe go even tougher, and he will hope to sort of lead on the front foot with this. The damage, of course, is, as you pointed out, it was Gordon Brown in the first place that set this regulatory system up. So can he take ownership of the changes that will almost certainly come in? That's the big question, and that's the challenge he's got.
Well, before that report, we're waiting for RBS tomorrow, who could well have record losses, and already tonight there's this row, isn't there, about Sir Fred Goodwin, who it's being disclosed is already drawing, about £650,000 a year in pension, despite the fact he's only 50. Ministers vowing to take steps to claw back some of that pension money.
Well,
what do you think?
I hope. I mean, we hear a lot about condemning what's happening on bonuses and all of this extra money, but I think the public want to actually see something real happening, and I'm not sure whether we will be able to make it happen.
I mean, there's a risk also that, Gordon Brown is consultation after consultation after he's almost got obsessive consultation disorder at the moment. He needs to make sure that, we've got the consultations, but they're very quickly wrapped up and he can actually make changes.
Yeah, well, something that I know MPs would like more consultation is about what's going to happen to Royal Mail. You're amongst them, I think,
Absolutely, and it's rather ironic, given the private sector and how badly it's behaved in terms of banking, that we've got, The Guardian has a story, they've talked to the business secretary, Lord Mandelson, and apparently he's going to offer concessions to appease some of us, 125 of us Labour rebels who are against the part privatisation, because we know it will lead to full privatisation of Royal Mail.
Well, he will reveal, apparently, that further legislation would be needed to change the public ownership of Royal Mail. Does that satisfy you?
No, because you
reassure you?
No, because the problem is our manifesto was very clear that we wanted to keep a publicly owned Royal Mail. And this, since Peter Mandelson came back, and remember, everyone was saying how wonderful this was, and a few people were saying, well, perhaps it might not quite be as wonderful as this. He has decided that this is what he's going to push through. There's huge disagreement within the Cabinet on this. There are a number of Cabinet members who are not, even if they thought it was the right thing to do, think it's the wrong time. And, does Gordon Brown really want to push through something in Parliament only with the help of the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats, of which I think you might be a supporter of, even though the Liberal Democrats now, some of them are discovering that their electorate are not so happy on this. And I think it's not going to go...
Kate, if we need an injection of money to reform the Royal Mail, as the Lib Dems would argue, to sell part of these shares to the private sector so that we can start funding post offices to stop the closures. Wouldn't that be a good thing?
Why?
Are you not entrenched in this sort of philosophy of not selling off anything at all?
If we can find not something that is one of our most treasured public services that has been allowed by the way we liberalised far too early, so that all the private sector are able to come in and cherry pick the most profitable bits. I'm very keen for the government to invest in. I'm very keen, as the unions are, to modernise it.
Okay, well, let's look at the alternatives. Would you prefer that it was now all brought back under Royal Mail, so those cherry picked off bits which are making profit could come back up, and it was one effectively nationalised company? Is that your preferred
I think
route?
if we're almost nationalising or practically nationalising the banks, then we should not even be talking about part privatising the Royal Mail. The Royal Mail is
so
the pensions.
You want government money chucked at it?
Yes,
is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't use the word chuck.
No, perhaps I wouldn't either if I thought about it properly.
I think this is something where there would be real support for, and we would see the Royal Mail be modernising in a way which the management, which remember the government appointed the managers of Royal Mail who have failed dismally, and we need new management that's going to care.
What about the issue of pensions? We've got 8 billion pension shortfall. This bill,
who allowed the pensions holiday?
Help that.
Who allowed the pensions holiday? Governments allowed the Royal Mail to take a pensions holiday, and now they're saying it's your fault. I mean, the House of Commons pension scheme was in deficit. We didn't suggest privatising
could break all
that.
sorts of businesses.
I feel very strongly about this, as does the public.
and 124 of your colleagues as well, as we know. Lots more still to come, including find out which breed of dog America's first family are planning to adopt. Finally, we find out. More in a moment.